Hey, everybody. We'll be getting started here in just about 2 minutes for MLS clear cooperation and listing maintenance. So just give us a couple minutes and we'll get rolling here. For those of you who just jumped on board for today's webinar, we'll be starting here in just about 1 minute. Okay, so appreciate you being here. I see we've got more people coming on board for today's webinar, so we'll give it about another 30 seconds and we're going to roll right into today's presentation. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining in today's webinar. What a crazy, crazy month this has been, right? My goodness, with this being the last full day of a full month of COVID-19, I tell you what, we have all gone through some very unique trials and tribulations, and boy, are we doing business a little bit differently than we have been just a matter of a couple months ago, right? But we're here today, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being on board, taking the time to learn a little bit more about the new changes that will be coming into play tomorrow, May 1st, for clear cooperation. And we are going to cover how clear cooperation will affect listing maintenance in Paragon. So let's get into it, okay? I'm Jay Jennings, part of your MLS support team, and looking forward to spending probably about the next 20 to 30 minutes with you to cover some of the more important questions or the more frequent questions I'm getting through the MLS office about clear cooperation and how it will be affecting our rules and regulations. So again, in this screenshot, just to let you know, it's important that because there are some new fine structures that are significant based on clear cooperation rules, that I want to make sure we point out that these policies go into effect tomorrow, May 1st. The new clear cooperation fines will go into effect June 15th. So what you'll be seeing along the way is we have some things set up with Paragon that you'll be seeing some new fields and some new warnings that you haven't seen before. You'll also be seeing some new email notifications from iCheck. So, and I'm going to cover all of that. I know there's a lot of questions that you folks have, but how I'm going to run this meeting today is let me cover the material and the questions and everything and the content I have in today's slide. If you have any questions, please enter them in the chat session, and I'm going to look at them at the end of the presentation, kind of see what some of the same questions that there might be, but hopefully I cover everything that's important to you. Again, you can type your questions in chat, or I'm going to give you contact information. When this webinar is done, you can reach out to the MLS department and also give you some links so that if you want to look up the rules and regs on your own, you can certainly do that. So again, so let's not worry about getting hit hard starting tomorrow about some crazy fines or anything like that. We're gonna ease our way into this. Again, you'll see some notifications and some warnings so that if anything is done incorrectly, somebody will reach out to you and say, here's your chance to fix it. Okay, so let's kind of go into that, about what we'll be covering today. First, we'll look into where do I find the new clear cooperation forms, and those will be two unique forms, which I think number one will be the most used by far and away for those agents and members who are taking on coming soon listings. You will need the coming soon addendum. We'll look at where you can find it, how you enter it, what you need to do with that. The second form is out there because it is covered, but we don't see a whole lot of it, but we make sure that we have this addendum, the confidential listing addendum. This would be an example where, for whatever reason, a seller provides you instruction that says, all right, I want to list my property with you, but I don't want it shown on the MLS. For whatever reason that may be, again, it's probably less than 1% of all of our listings, but we have that form that you would use, and I'm going to show you what it looks like, when you would use it, and how you need to submit that in order to be compliant with clear cooperation policy. All right, so let's move on. Again, we'll be covering just an overview of what we'll be covering today. The other new thing that you'll be seeing is a new required field called expected on market date field. This will only be coming up for coming soon listings. So what happens is when you're going into listing maintenance and you're creating that coming soon listing, you will see, once you put in the status field coming soon and hit enter, there will now be an expected on market date field that will pre-populate, auto-populate right under or near the listing effective date. So and I'll talk about a little bit more about the rule logics and time frames and the days and how it affects days on market. But just a heads up, you'll be seeing a new field. But let's actually get right into rolling along into the meat of the presentation here. So I just want to point out to you, if you ever wanted to look and review the clear cooperation rules, the answer for that is it's in our MLS rules and regulations. And what I've done for you is point out really the three sections of the MLS rules and regs where you can go to quickly to find a little bit better definition of what each one of those are. Section 1 is clear cooperation directive that came down from NAR. Section 1.3 in rules and regs is exempt listings, which or confidential listings could also be referenced to. It's for when you might have sellers that instruct you to say not to put a listing into the MLS. And finally, I think is where most eyes are going to shift to, and I would highly recommend you take some time to do that. We'll be looking at this throughout the course of the webinar today, but take a few extra minutes when you have literally 5-10 minutes, because this is so important. Go to section 1.22 of the MLS rules and regulations and just kind of scan over the coming soon listing policy. It'll give you everything. It talks about, advertising, photos, all the different requirements, when you should enter properties in, the fine structures, everything. So that would be a really good place to spend literally just 4 or 5 minutes just to give yourself a little bit of peace of mind and feeling good that you know what those coming soon listing policies are. Okay, now where do I find the clear cooperation forms? We just got done talking about there's going to be two forms, a coming soon addendum and a confidential listing addendum. So what we're all should be used to seeing now is that we have a single sign-on portal, just like where you would go to log into Paragon. Above those quick links, like where you would click on Paragon, right below that under the Paragon quick link, below there, you're going to see the icon where it says BR documents right there. Click on that, and if you scroll down, all our forms are there. Under MLS Forms, you will see right here where these yellow arrows are, the coming soon addendum and the confidential listing addendum for exempt listings, okay? So that's where those would be. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one here. What do I do with the coming soon addendum, right? Well, here it is. but what do I do with it? That's really the main thing. So what you need to know is on that addendum, the listing agent and the seller must both sign the coming soon addendum. All right. The second bullet point on this is the coming soon addendum must be uploaded into the listing within 1 business day from the listing effective date. And I'll be going over some screenshots on what that looks like. And then finally, the coming soon addendum is uploaded through, how is that done? Well, you've got a coming soon listing. You could go into listing maintenance, and in your menu, you will have the ability to click on add, edit, documents. And then there'll be a field that pops up. We'll be seeing that in just about 10 seconds here, what it looks like. You will click on the green plus where it says add new form. And let's show you what that looks like. This is how you're going to upload your executed coming soon addendum. Okay, so again, we went into listing maintenance. We clicked add, edit, document, and this is what it's going to look like when you click on add new, right up here in the upper left-hand corner. All right, so you're going to, here's the 3 required fields. You're going to hit choose a file, and then from your computer, laptop, wherever it may be you're using, you are going to upload that executed document that you have signed. The second field is description. You would just want to type in there, coming soon addendum. And the third field under document type, there will be a drop down. If you click on the drop down, there will be a pre-populated description that says coming soon addendum. So the last thing I'll just point out real quick, and I want to point out, excuse me, is this public emailable. You may want to uncheck that so it's not anything that you would want to get. You wouldn't want to email that in any kind of client report. So just make sure that's unchecked. Would be important. Okay. Last thing you'd want to do when you upload your coming soon addendum is you want to make sure you save it. Okay. Now you're compliant. Okay. So that's really, really important that you end up saving that. Okay. So that's how you upload the coming soon addendum. The next addendum is the confidential listing addendum for what we were talking about, exempt listings. Okay. So again, this is when you are instructed by sellers, say, you know, I want a listing with you. I want to list my property with you, but I don't want it in the MLS. Okay. So here's what that would look like. It's actually a 2-page document. So here's some of the frequently asked questions about that addendum. Real quick, you can cover that now, but basically it's just what I was kind of overviewing earlier. It's basically with your seller's permission, it can be entered. Actually, I'm sorry, let me say this here. If my sellers do not wish to market the listing through the MLS, do I still have to enter it? And the answer is no. But you must submit this form and the listing agreement to the MLS compliance department at Baldwin MLS at mls@baldwinrealtors.com within 3 business days of the effective date of the listing agreement. So that's really the most important thing I want you to understand, is that if you come across a situation where a seller says, we're listing the property, I don't want an MLS, fill out the confidential listing addendum and email that to us here at mls@baldwinrealtors.com along with the listing agreement. That must be done within 3 business days of the listing effective date. Okay. Some other things I want to point out for you is that this is not a form to use for your typical coming soon situation, all right? Because this is not going in the MLS. This is not a coming soon listing. All right. So the other thing is, what if your sellers change their minds and they say, well, you know what, I want to start listing my property into the MLS. Well, it can't, you know, a withheld listing can, with your seller's permission, get entered to the MLS, but the list date entered on that listing in the MLS must reflect the effective date or the expected on market date on the listing agreement, whichever is later. Okay. So I just want to point that out. And then again, your sellers aren't locked into saying, if I don't want on the MLS, do I have to stay that way? No, they can decide to say, all right, you know what, I may get a lot more benefit now, exposure marketing, out of putting that listing on the MLS. All right, and just as an FYI, if you ever want to enter the listing and for comp purposes that was held off from being put on the MLS, yes, we encourage you to enter the listing as a comp. Having those listings entered in will make it easily available for comp purposes, reporting, and benefits future buyers, sellers, appraisals, comps, and all the different reports that we put together. Okay, so those two forms are going to be important about clear cooperation. One, the coming soon addendum, and the confidential listing addendum. So here's the other thing I was talking about. Now we're getting into what the topic of today's webinar is really how listing maintenance looks and feels with clear cooperation. So there is a new required expected on market date field. So simply all this is that Paragon has added logic when entering a listing and the coming soon status is entered, there will be a required expected on market date field that will auto populate into your listing, into Paragon's listing input form. So basically when that field comes up, it's saying, okay, you have, because we know now when a listing goes into the system is coming soon, it's going to turn automatically going to change to active status within 30 days. So you now have an expected on market date where if you feel it may come on the market prior to that, this is where you can enter it in. You will not have the ability to enter a date 30 days beyond the listing effective date. Okay, so we want to make sure of that. So that's already been filled in, or rules built in by Paragon, so that can't happen. So again, you can't exceed 30 days from the listing effective date when you put the expected market date on. Now, what happens if that expected on market date comes along and you don't feel like it's ready for whatever reason? You know, some painting need to be done to the exterior of the home, and it's raining, and you got pushed back 4 or 5 days. Not a problem. You can go into listing maintenance and change that expected on market date if you need to. Okay, so if you miss that date, you're not going to get fined. It kind of gives us a heads up that says, okay, you know, this is when I can start putting additional photos in. I can start doing showings. I can start taking offers. So it's just kind of giving a heads up to the other members out there about when property is ready to hit the market in a full-blown active status. Okay, so the other thing to pay very, very close attention to when adding in a coming soon listing, we now have only allowing one main photo for coming soon listings. So if you look under section 1.22 under the coming soon listing policy, which I referenced earlier, that's rule number 7. That's for photos. It says only one photo allowed, and it must be of the main structure. When listing is changed to active status, additional photos will be allowed. So just make sure that's a really, really important thing, because you get one main photo. And let me show you something else about main photo in this way to avoid violations, because once that listing is entered into MLS as a coming soon listing, you can start to market it. But public advertising may only contain information that is in the MLS listing. And that could be a direct correlation to one main photo. So, and look in red here. So what I'm saying is, do not use additional photos of the property other than the main photo that is in the listing when marketing the coming soon status. Okay, so you get that coming soon status in our listing. You put it in the MLS, and you want to start marketing on your Facebook page. And all of a sudden you have 45 pictures in that ad. That is a no-no. Again, you can only advertise what information is in the MLS listing, and when it comes to photos, you're only allowed one. So please, any advertising while it's still in coming soon status, please use only the main photo. So here's something I want to point out to you. I mentioned a couple things about expected on market date and the one main photo rule. So please, please, please pay attention to the warning signs we are giving you. So often, guys, we see that either we're in a hurry or we're not paying attention or whatever, we are clicking through these warnings that I have displayed on the screen now, and it catches up with us pretty quick sometimes in unnecessary fines, right? So please, when you are entering in a coming soon listing and you have not entered an expected on market date, or you have more than one photo, this is the warning that you're going to see at the top of that listing page in Paragon. At the top, the number one, you'll see one warning, one error. Okay, the warning here says caution, avoid fines. Only one picture allowed in this status until changed to active. Now, you have to click accept to move beyond that. You have to read that and click accept to say you acknowledge the fact that you've read, to avoid a potential significant fine, that only one picture is allowed in the coming soon status. Anything more than that, you're going to have to go back into listing maintenance and remove those, delete those. The second, you have one warning and one error. The second error is saying, all right, expected on market date is required when status is coming soon. So you would have to go back down and I don't have it to show today because it's actually being turned on tomorrow, May 1st. Oh, sorry about that. Let's go back. Sorry about that. But there would be an expected on market date field that you would need to go down with one of the red R's and fill that in, okay? And then go back and hit save listing, okay? So let's just pay very close attention when you get these warnings, these errors, that you understand what they are and how you know how to go about fixing them. Let me point something else to you, because we are trying to be proactive in letting our members and brokers know that if you made a boo-boo, all right, we went an additional step further beyond these warnings and error notifications in Paragon. So for the one main photo rule, we have worked with iCheck that every night it runs through and scans all of our listings, and it's actually going to look at the photo count field. If there is more than one photo, let's say you clicked on accept and hit save and there's more than one photo, you and your broker the next day will get an email that says, here's listing number 295684. You have more than one photo. In order to avoid a potential fine, you must remove all the additional photos, okay? You can only have one main photo. You must do this within 3 business days, okay? If you don't do it, guess what happens day 2? Here's the same listing number. You have 2 business days to remove additional photos other than the main photo, or else you're going to get fined. If you don't do it again, you'll get a 3rd email notification that says, this is your last day to remove all additional photos in your coming soon listing. And if you get a 4th email, guys, that's going to sting. Okay. So for 3 days in a row, well, let me tell you this. 1, you're going to get a warning in Paragon that says, don't do this. And here's what's you could get a potential fine. And then you're going to get an email, you and your broker, 2 people for 3 days telling you what to fix and how to fix it and make it go away. So we're trying to do the best we can to let you know to avoid these potential fines. So again, avoiding violations. Here's some of the questions that I get a lot in the office. So the question is, I belong to multiple MLSs. What rules apply for my listings and the Baldwin MLS? And that answer is, if you are a member of the Baldwin MLS and you take on a listing within our 5 service areas, you must enter that listing into the Baldwin MLS with our rules applying. So down below, what that means, and highlighted in yellow, are our 5 service areas. So if you are a member of the Baldwin MLS and you take a listing that falls in either Baldwin County, Mobile County, Escambia County, Alabama, Conecuh County, and Escambia County, Florida, that must also be entered into our MLS with clear cooperation rules applying. So just, I'll keep that up there for a second. And again, this webinar will be posted as the other ones were. So if you didn't get to see it today, or you want to come back and look at this and get reference to those service areas, you certainly can. And I'll show you where that will be in just a little bit. But again, if you belong to multiple MLSs and you take on a listing within those 5 service areas, you must enter that listing into the Baldwin MLS with our rules applying. Okay, here's the other one. New timeframes to enter listings in the MLS. And this is going to be, the next slide is actually going to be important how it ties into here. So again, this is all in section 1.22 of our MLS rules and regs, coming soon listing policies. All right, so you enter, it's rule number 1, listing entry and addendum. And simply said, it's the property must be entered into the MLS with the listing status of coming soon and the coming soon addendum within 1 business day of a signed listing agreement. So let's say, guys, tomorrow's May 1st, and this goes into play tomorrow, May 1st. You take a coming soon listing tomorrow, you have 1 business day to get it in the MLS, which would be Monday. Okay? So, because it's Saturday and Sunday aren't business days. You have 1 business day to get it into the MLS. So you take it, a coming soon listing, May 1st, it's going to have to go into the listing the following Monday. Now, part 2 of the rule here, it says if seller elects not to sign the coming soon addendum, then no coming soon sign, rider, or advertising on the property representing coming soon or any variation thereof can take place until the home is active in the into the MLS. Okay, so let's make sure your seller sign the addendum, get it uploaded, and you enter the listing within 1 business day of that listing effective date. Okay, so that's important. Now here's the other part I want you to pay attention to on this slide. Now this is for an active listing. Okay, we're not talking about coming soon, but we are talking about an active listing, and typically those those same rules apply where you have 3 business days to enter that active listing into the MLS. But here's what happens. Tomorrow's May 1st, right? You meet with the sellers, and you happen to have a for sale sign or coming soon sign or for sale sign in the trunk of your car. So they say, all right, they don't want to do a coming soon listing. They're just going to do a regular listing with you, not a coming soon. But if you put the for sale sign on that property on the same day you get that listing, you must enter that listing now within 1 business day based on clear cooperation policy. You are now marketing and advertising that property, and we must have a fair playing field for all of our participants. So even though you had 3 business days if you to enter in an active listing, if you put a for sale sign on that property that same day, you now have 1 business day to get that into the MLS. Okay. Now, here's what everybody's trying to, the fear factor of the new fine structures, but let's cover it. So any kind of clear cooperation policy, including a coming soon policy or a confidential listing policy violation, first offense is $1,000. Second offense is $2,000. Third offense, $5,000, and fourth, you're going to have to go to the principal's office. Okay, and that's no fun. But what I will have to say is, remember, guys, these fines do not go into effect until June 15th. So, moving on. I'm going to move this a little bit here. Okay. Does the new clear cooperation policy affect days on market? And the answer is yes. In the past and ending today, if you put a coming soon listing into the MLS, the days on market would reset to 0 after 21 days in coming soon status. Now, starting tomorrow, when you enter a coming soon listing in the MLS, the days on market will automatically reset to 0 30 days from the listing effective date. So you get an extra 9 days from the listing effective date to keep it in that in the coming soon status if you need it. Okay, so yes, it does affect days on market because it went from 21 to 30 days. So, and again, the system will automatically change that after 30 days from coming soon to active. Okay, next question, just some general questions again that I've been getting on listing maintenance. Can I change my listing from active or a pending status back to coming soon? And the answer is no. And rule number 9 points that down under D. Listings may not be transferred from any other status to coming soon. So, so once it leaves coming soon, you can't go back, okay? So there's not too much more discussion about that. It's pretty plain and simple. Okay, another question I get, can I add a virtual tour to a coming soon listing? And the answer to that is no. Since we can only add one main photo for coming soon listings, virtual tour fields have been removed until the status gets changed to active, okay? So then you'll be able to market it a little bit further with more photos and a virtual tour once it comes out of the coming soon status. All right, so again, that's another good idea. Remember we said, if you end up marketing your coming soon listing on like your social media page, make sure you only use the one main photo. Don't use additional photos. And that should also, don't use virtual tours for a coming soon listing in your marketing online or wherever it is, okay? Stick to only what is in the MLS. Okay, can I add an open house to a coming soon listing? And the answer to that is no. Paragon does not syndicate open houses for listings with a coming soon status. And I think everything will be changing, hopefully in the near future, for even active listings, guys. Kind of a sidebar there about right now we're only doing virtual open houses for active listings or right now. We hope with some of the changes we're seeing with COVID-19 that hopefully in the very near future, we will be able to start entering and syndicating open houses for active listings. But in reference to coming soon listings, no, you cannot add an open house to a coming soon listing. Okay, so again, I just want to point out that the new policy and fine implementation dates are 2 different staggered events. So tomorrow, May 1st, clear cooperation policies go into effect. So don't freak out if you get these warning emails and these warnings in Paragon that, uh-oh, I did something wrong. All right, those fines will not go into effect until June 15th, but we are going to start conditioning you with this probationary period in the email warnings you may be getting or could be getting that says, here's what went wrong and here's how to fix it. You know what? I should point out, if you have a coming soon listing right now into the system and overnight, boom, we switch over to May 1st and you have more than 1 photos, you're going to get an email that says, hey, by the way, you have more than one, you have more than that one main photo. Here's what you need to do to go fix it. So pay attention to those. So if you have any questions about listing maintenance in the Baldwin MLS, Garrett Eichner and myself are always available to help you answer those questions, not just about coming soon policies, but any other factor or tools, resources that we have, where we want to help you use all the resources to your benefit and be efficient with those tools. Also, where you see that red arrow, in that same area where you go to your portal to click on Paragon and the quick link, above that, in that middle section, if you scroll up, you'll see that red arrow. There is a BR webinar library, and if you click here, you will take you to a YouTube page, and all the webinars, such as today's, is going to be uploaded into that page, and you can have access. So you don't have to be here to watch all the webinars. We know different schedules. Everybody has different schedules. So if you need to look at something before you go to bed early in the morning, it's always there for you. So with that being said, let me see. We have, I don't have any questions at this point, but if you want to email us at mls@baldwinrealtors.com, you can do that, or call us. Call me direct, 270-2725. We'll be more than happy to help you make this transition from clear cooperation and COVID-19 and all the unique things that realtors are dealing with today. But first and foremost, guys, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here today. Please continue to be safe, be nice to each other. Can't tell you how far that goes, but I hope to see you again real soon in person, and appreciate you spending some time with us on today's webinar. We'll talk to you very, very soon. Have a good day.